Hey everybody, welcome to Liberty Libations. I'm Zach Varnell. I'm here with Steven, Alden, and Nick as usual. So Steven, tell us what you're drinking.
Oh, there we go. So got a Sierra Nevada celebration. I actually found this stuff fresh. It's weird to find it fresh this close to Christmas because it's they're seasonal. And then something local. Got to rep your set. Piedmont Brewery down in Griffin. Sunshine Daydreams, another IPA, and then I've got some honey ale that's homebrew that we bottled. So we'll see how that goes. We haven't bottled in a couple of years.
Nice.
What about you, Alden?
I'm just still drinking on some of my Costco Sapporo, and I found this is like we've spent all our money on like presents this month, so like I'm drinking budget stuff. I found a $15 closeout bottle of bourbon that's normally like $35 or something. And it's like called Ragged Branch or something. And it's okay. Like for $35, I wouldn't write home about it. But for $15, it's pretty good. So
Nice.
I'm fine with it.
So does Costco do anything special with Sapporo, or just you mean you have a lot of it?
Oh, I just got a flat of it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just drinking on it for like the rest of the month.
Nice. What about you, Nick? Oh, Nick's frozen.
I didn't even notice. He's just looking into my soul. Oh, there he
goes. He's back. What are you drinking, Nick?
I once again having a Iron City Light, Icy Light, the beer Pittsburgh.
Nice. All right.
And then I have a Yingling Black and Tan in reserve.
Nice.
So,
oh, nice. Those aren't bad actually. The Yingling Black and Tan.
I like them.
Yeah.
All
what are you drinking, Zach?
Oh yeah, I just have a White Claw as usual. Nothing crazy.
The universe is correct. That's how you know where you're in the right, like, of the parallel universes, and you didn't stumble off. Is that Zach is still drinking a White Claw? Everything's normal. It's fine.
If you log on and he's got a Truly, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've stumbled, into another universe.
I've tried all of them too. I don't like any of the other ones as well as White Claw, but.
What was that one that somebody gave us like at the election show that we did that was like a White Claw variant of some kind?
Oh yeah, it was like ice or something like that. It was just
I don't remember the name, but it was pretty good as far as I don't know the hard waters go. But
yeah. All right. Well, this episode we're just going to talk about. Well, first of all, it's brought to you by Rabbit Eye Wine, so go check that out. Not only I'm on a different page here than normal, and it reminded me that not only do they make wine, which I guess they do primarily make wine, but they grow like delicious looking blueberries, and I guess that's most of the game there. And then the wine is just a cherry on top, I guess.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
I'm not. Yeah,
because like I don't. By a man named Rusty Bell. I mean, if that doesn't tell you need to buy, I don't know what does.
Well, it's just like I think of Will Bell as a blueberry farmer, not like a winemaker. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
It's funny because if you sell like grape wine, no one like eats those kind of grapes. You know what I mean? They're just for wine. So dual purpose. It's kind of cool.
Anyway, this episode I thought we would just talk about the spending bill that just got killed, what caused that, what's happening now. Things are going on like as we speak. Luckily, this isn't one of the episodes where our episode title is already out of date because there hasn't been a spending bill passed, but there was one a few days ago that was like this huge, like 1,600 page bill, and it kind of looked like it was going to just sail through until people on Twitter and Elon himself and Trump and people like that started making a fuss. But that bill not only funded the government, but it also funded alleged censorship operations, had excessive spending, which we all know, we all expect at this point, no matter what, lack of transparency, and it included policy bills where it was just bundled with policy changes into the fundraising in order to pass controversial policies and redundant programs, pretty much everything that like the incoming administration has said that they're not going to do. And what Doge is supposed to be against, this was just going to, look like a last minute Hail Mary to get a bunch of stuff through, including congressional pay raises and
course.
all sorts of crazy stuff. So I don't know. Have you guys been keeping up with this?
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
a certain
And
extent, yes. I don't
one
have.
thing
I mean,
that
I haven't read the
Let's-
1,500 pages, but
Yeah. Very few people
No.
have, I would guess.
yeah, almost no one voting on it would have read it either. So
That's fair.
Yeah, well,
they
one thing that
dropped
stood
it
out to
Tuesday
me
night.
right off the bat, something that stood out to me was it would put extra, like expand the government drone surveillance capability and put further restrictions on civilian drone use and ownership, which I thought was just really, odd timing for such a thing to just sneak its way into a continuing resolution.
Yeah. Yep. Right at the end here, just shoehorning it in.
Well, I mean, if that's not proof positive that, at the very least, what's going on around New Jersey is a total black swan. I don't know what other proof you need. I mean, because here it is. I mean, it's not even a week removed. I mean, people are still seeing the drones flying around, wondering what's going on. And we know for sure that if it was, some kind of foreign surveillance, they better be shooting it down, or some folks in the military better be, brought up for treason or something. Like, I mean, that's their one job. Like, at the end of the day, that is the government's one job. Now, granted, they don't do anything really well, but like the one thing they should be doing is if someone else flies over us looking for trouble, they find it.
Yeah.
I don't know,
and that seems consistent with libertarianism too. Like if we lived in Ancapistan and the foreign government's flying drones, we'd be itching to shoot them down. It's not like.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just everybody's like, oh, is it an alien invasion? Is it the Chinese? Is it a sniffer for a dirty bomb? All these things. And then all these experts are suddenly coming out of the woodwork of like, hey, they're not sniffing for radioactive material. Like the guy that went on Rogan. I know those guys. They're not active right now. That's all I can say on it. But they would be at work, and I call them and they're on vacation. So you rule that out. You rule out the foreign enemy thing. It's obviously some kind of conditioning. I mean, yes, we're obviously training some things because their FAA designated that area of New Jersey back in like 2003 a training ground for drone, whatever, any kind of drone development. So a lot of these places, these things are being seen are around military bases. So, if it's a foreign enemy or any other foreign nation that's not invited, getting that close to our military bases, that's pretty messed up. So, I mean, it's got to be us. And then if they're not sniffing for radioactive material, then for what? I mean, we just came out of a 3-year scare for the Wuhan flu. I mean, and look at what rights we gave up. Look at how much money we gave up. I mean, what was it? 23% of our GDP right off the rip.
Jesus.
Imagine how dumb we would be to give in to something like this, especially going into Christmas when all we want is security while we spend time with our family.
So, yeah, continuing down the drone thing before we get back. I mean, it was one thing when it's New Jersey, coastal state, they could make claims. But then it started moving central Pennsylvania. I've seen videos claiming Pittsburgh area here, Western Pennsylvania. And then at one point they had to shut down flights out of Wright Pat in Ohio. And that if anyone in the conspiracy space understands what Wright Patterson is, that just feels like that's a game they're playing. So that was thanks for the reminder on that. I need to set
I don't think I have anyone in the Thursday game, but I'm going to make sure here.
Yeah, Jake just disrupted everything to tell Alden to do his fantasy lineup.
He's trying to be my savior here, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I don't have anyone on Thursday, but what's the game tonight? Who's playing tonight?
Chargers and Broncos.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I have anyone.
So it's like Cortland Sutton or Justin Herbert.
Yeah, maybe.
And Justin Herbert's on my bench, so.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like with these drones, it really doesn't even matter what it is. Like, it could be aliens, it could be absolutely nothing, and everybody's mistaken. But the reaction will be exactly the same, and that'll be, more power for the government and the cops. They should be able to shoot them down. They should be able to buy all this technology, and it'll be more money, to Department of Defense, the military, the local cops, whoever. It could all come out next week that, it was nothing. It was a mass hallucination. And they'd still be like, well, you can imagine what it would be like if it weren't, though. We need more money.
Yeah. You guys remember it was, 10 years ago, maybe more, when people over Pennsylvania were seeing something. They're like, we think we're being surveilled. And like, nah, you're definitely not being surveilled. You're just being silly. And then like giant blimps just start falling out of the sky.
No, I don't remember this.
And then some people go find, like, one of them landed in like this guy's cornfield, and he goes out there and he's like, what is this? And then the FBI shows up like, this is mine. You saw nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What, so it's just one of those things where don't believe anything until it's been officially denied. When it comes from government. And that's one of the telltale signs of it being a psyop of some sort is, does the government find some way to expand their budget, or do they gain more power from this in any way? Mm-hmm. And are they using fear as leverage to do this, or patriotism? But the patriotism is usually kind of the knee-jerk reaction to fear of some sort. Like 9/11. Oh my God, they took our buildings down. Screw everybody but us.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Oh, is it the aliens? Oh man, let's all come together against the aliens. Things like that. So it's really weird. And then they're doing the age-old trick of trying to sneak it in around Christmas. Yeah. That's always the hallmark. I don't think they do anything they pass in the last week of the year is never good. And it hasn't.
We didn't even have an October surprise. We might as well just get rid of that one. It's always in December now. December.
They're trying to sneak across the Delaware.
That's right.
Yeah.
They've done it since they created the Federal Reserve.
That's what I was going to say. The Federal Reserve, when they snuck that in on Christmas.
Yeah.
So.
Was that on Christmas?
Yes.
Is this trying to catch people off guard when they're busy with family or something? Or what is the
there's that
here?
And it puts pressure on the representatives. You want to get home, you want to spend time with your family, you don't want to spend Christmas here in the Capitol, so just vote yes and you can go home. They did the same with Obamacare.
Who's going to filibuster on Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you want to be with your family?
Gotcha. Yeah.
I feel like Rand might be willing to do it again.
Yeah. He
Tell
does
the
have his whole
family
family
here. Yeah.
You can unwrap gifts while filibustering.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Except
bring the family into the filibuster.
Except the actual standing talking filibuster's dead, so that doesn't happen anymore. It's just the vote to close debate or whatever, and you don't have to actually stand there and keep talking for hours on end anymore.
You don't have to do the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington thing?
No.
Yeah.
So
here's another thing that was all sorts of this type of stuff hiding in this bill that has luckily been killed already. But it says the woke continuing resolution bill mentions changing term offender to justice involved individual. And there were all sorts of ones like this, whereas person experiencing homelessness or all these little woke rewording things were in this bill, which is supposed to be a funding bill.
Just you can't say homeless, it's unhoused and all this other just woke newspeak.
Yeah, you weren't killed, you were unalived.
Yeah.
Well, you have to say that because it triggers the algos
and
knocks your reach on socials.
Although, how long does it take them to type in unalived into their block list too?
I keep wondering that too, where we keep just finding new words and just chasing. Anyway, yeah, it's just so silly. The whole thing is so silly.
It's silly, but that's how they do it, I guess, for some reason. So you have to say unalived and corn and stuff like that to get around the reach killers.
Delete yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh no. Self-deleted.
Yeah. /wrists.
All right. Here's some other things that were in this CR. So here's Link Lauren telling us about it.
To the ground. Also within the CR that they say they need to keep the government open, there is funding for 12 biolabs. Have y'all learned nothing? We saw how the biolabs went last time. My hope is that Donald Trump and Mike Johnson can get together to figure this out. Let's look at page 947 of the CR. They redefine homeless individuals as individuals experiencing homelessness. Page 947 again, they redefine homeless children to children experiencing homelessness. None of this has anything to do with keeping the government open. Let's also look at page 958. They redefine low-skilled adults to adults with foundational skill needs. None of this has to do with keeping the government open. Now, I've had it. I pay my taxes.
All right. So yeah.
I think that's the perfect point, though, right? Like, it's called a continuing resolution. Oh, we're going to just continue on this until we actually get around to doing our jobs and passing the spending bills that we never do. And instead of doing that, they're like, oh, well, end of the year omnibus, just cram everything in there. Pay raises for us that we haven't had. Yep, let's throw that in there. Let's throw in this. Let's throw in that. Let's throw, let's redefine terms. Let's create new words that don't exist. Let's, just do everything out there.
Yeah,
possible.
that seems
pay
to be
raises is a real bitch where it's like, oh, we need to make up for the inflation that we caused for our own pay. It's very
like the deal here is very, very simple in the continuing resolution. I mean, it's not in my word what I would like to see, in libertarian world what I'd like to see, but the obvious answer is you keep spending rates the same on everything, except maybe then you also throw in that relief money for North Carolina and Florida from the hurricanes, and nobody's going to complain about it. But you start saying Health and Human Services can't mess with the childhood vaccine schedule, and you say this and you say that, and then of course you vote yourself a pay raise in that, instead of actually having to go on record and go like, yes, let's pass a bill to raise our own pay. Well, you gotta you can't just jam this stuff through, and I think it's great
port barrel it right in.
It seems like Elon has had Grok set up in order to analyze legislation and allow people to kind of tear through this with keywords.
Well, and kudos for that, because the Republicans, they're taking the White House, they're taking Congress, they're taking all these cabinet positions. I mean, it's basically like a whole just top down, everything red. And history even says when that happens, everybody that made that landslide happen goes back to sleep. Hey, we won. I did my part. I pushed a button in a booth. That's it. That's all I have to do. I don't have to pay attention anymore. Wrong. No. I mean, look at that. I mean, because this bill is 1,500 pages of literally these idiots aren't paying attention. Let's see what we can get away with.
Then Elon gets on there and he goes, "Hey guys, look what's in this," and the entire internet goes, "Oh fuck this! We're not doing this shit." And then you have the corporate press losing their damn minds about it. Oh, they're supposed to be listening to the people, not a billionaire. It's like, the people who voted in the next administration don't want this shit, and they just caught you red-handed with your hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
Honestly, these things shouldn't be allowed to be thousands of pages long.
No.
That's just insane. If someone can post on Twitter basically a summary of what's going on, then there needs to be some kind of in between 50 words and 2,000 words.
Well, and that was Occasional Cortex when she first got in there. She was actually standing on principle, saying that we need time to read these bills. And when she was just a freshman, that was her. I mean, she was all over TikTok and all this kind of stuff saying that
really,
they introduced a 400-page bill and we're supposed to vote on it in 30 minutes. She goes, I've even talked to speed readers on Capitol Hill, and they would need, at least a couple of hours to read 400 pages, to at least have bullet points for me. And that you can't even condense this down into a bullet point list for me. It's not a searchable PDF format that I can dabble with while we're voting on it and debating it. She's like, so I'm instantly going to vote no. Notice that changed the instant she could afford to live in D.C., which was also a problem for her as a freshman congresswoman.
Yeah, she turned around. I remember her making a big thing and then turning around and then flipping yes after going, oh, well, this is we can't be voting on this stuff. And then in the end, she fell in line with the Democrats and voted yes. So
yeah, I can't remember the last time I agreed with her on something, I guess, and it was a while ago apparently. Because I agree that you should be much simpler wording, smaller, or longer time to respond. And you can't have both. You can't have hundreds of pages or thousands of pages and then expect to vote on it right
Yeah.
away.
I thought like maybe Thomas Massey said that you're supposed to have a certain amount of time in the rules, and then that just constantly gets ignored with this stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, last minute, come on, we got to vote. Who wants to go home for Christmas?
Yeah.
And they put it up against the walls here, and so
Well,
That's
here's
a,
the last few things, and then we'll get on to what happened to it. So it was a 1,547 page bill. It was going to spend over $110 billion. And that included a pay increase for members of Congress from $174,000 a year to $243,000 a year.
That's a
There are also,
jump.
That is a jump. A new football stadium in DC, where
I believe that one's a little bit misstated on what that part
it is.
did.
Okay. So what's up with that?
So
It's a soccer stadium.
Well, it's the old RFK.
Okay.
It's the old RFK Junior Stadium. It basically is turning over control of that, more control of that land to the city of DC rather than the feds holding it, so that it probably could be redeveloped into a stadium that'll bring the Skins back into the city limits.
Yeah, which may be the Redskins again soon. I've heard.
Really?
I'm going to continue calling them that.
Well, apparently they're having discussions, and like the Native American community in the area is like, yeah, we want you to be the Redskins. People were interested in our story when you were the Redskins. Now they don't know we exist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No one
Well,
asked
like
them.
The Atlanta Braves, the baseball team.
Yeah.
I remember when Chief Nakahoma used to dance around by the field. They used to have a teepee up there in the stand. And anytime we would hit a home run, he'd come out of his teepee and do a little he loved it. Because they interviewed him. You didn't feel marginalized? He goes, I'd never been more popular. What do you mean marginalized?
Yeah.
See, I had the same issue in high school because we were the Indians when I was there. And I mean, the debate was going on back then too. Oh, we got to get rid of this. But like at some point they had talked to local Native American groups, and they're like, all right, here's basically the rules. If basically it came down to like, we used an arrowhead as a logo rather than, full blown Indian. But if it was like headdress, here's the proper one that, here's the proper feather stuff that was used, not the big full length one, but I think it was like 2 up and 1 down or something. They had their own thing, and they're like, this is what proper use
It's kind
would
of
be.
cool, like a professional consultation and just getting it historically accurate. That's cool.
Right. And so that's what it was. And then George Floyd happened, and then within a week it was gone. It was nope, we're changing the name.
I mean, I could see the issue, if your football team was like the Kansas City polio blankets. Or smallpox blanket, whatever it was,
Right.
That's
Which
an
is
issue,
a myth also.
right? Yeah.
Germ theory hadn't been invented yet.
Right. The Tennessee Trail of Tears. What? That's a problem.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But yeah, I mean, if you're honoring the tradition, usually people don't have a problem with that.
The whole thing just comes down to, for me, ask them. Ask the people who would be in the position to be offended. Don't get offended on someone's behalf,
Yeah.
Right. And
preemptively.
if you have a team with a name like that, that's paying homage to, the indigenous peoples of the area, is the tribe getting a kickback? If that
There's
answer is
another
yes,
thing. Yeah.
fair game, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with this Redskins thing, is like they're thinking about bringing it back and giving them a kickback. So I'm sure they're more than okay with it.
I'm sure they would be. Yeah,
Well, and that's people talk about reparations, like that's already in play big time for the Indians. The tribes around here. Any cell phone tower, any new construction cell phone tower in the country, the tribal council has to sign off on it. And it's a flat national, it's a flat rate fee for every cell phone tower that goes up. They get a check for saying yes.
I mean, that seems just like rent seeking, but good for them. It's probably not great for the economy, but it's not like I would do it. I would do it if it was me. Like, sure, give me the money.
I mean,
Is
the
this
impact on
for-
your monthly cell phone bill is like a fraction of a penny. So,
This is even east of the Mississippi, where there's not really that many reservations, or
it's not even on the
Why are there
reservation.
not
It's
any
anywhere
over
in the
here?
country.
That's what I was going to say. Does this have to do with if the tower's on the land, or if the cell range reaches the land, or it has nothing to do with their
if
land?
the cell range reaches any of their hallowed grounds, which by the way
Right.
is the whole freaking country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at very least going to reach the Great Spirit in the sky.
That's right.
Grumpy says everyone knows you have to consult the white liberals first.
That is true.
Good point.
Got to make sure they're not offended and, coax them out of their safe spaces.
Yeah. So the last two things here, it said there was also 72 pages of pandemic preparedness and response policy, which I'm sure was wonderful, and renewal of the Global Engagement Center, which is currently being sued for censorship.
What is that? What is the?
I don't know.
I don't even know what that is.
It's just some nonsense.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is
if
how
being
it started.
Sued for censorship, then I don't. Yeah, it's not good.
It's not a good look, at very least.
But
so
I feel like a raise, you want to go from 170 grand a year to 240 grand a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the proportion on that? I mean, that's you're wanting to go up and pay almost 70 grand. That's
it's like 40% increase or something. It's
like a 30% pay raise, which oddly enough, this term of Congress, it's the damage you've done to the dollar.
Yeah, they get to correct it for themselves.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They get to correct it for them. They cause it. Then they're trying to anyway, repair that damage.
Congress just told
personally.
you what they need to be revenue neutral before they screwed with the dollar before this last session came around.
Right. It's almost like an admittance of guilt. Like
pretty much. Yeah. Hey, the increase in your grocery bill that we've been telling you for 2 years now is only 10 to 15%.
Right.
Here's the real number.
Is that how high they're saying now? They weren't even saying that high for a while, but
they've admitted that some things are 10 to 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But ground beef, when I was paying $3 a pound.
Ground beef, man.
Now I'm paying $6.50 a pound. That ain't 10%, homie.
No, I still pay $3.50 a pound once in a while when I just like bargain hunt for it. But that's literally as cheap as I've ever found.
I mean, you can get it that cheap if you go to the farm and buy 50 of them.
Yeah, if you get a half cow.
If you buy half or a quarter of a cow, you're in the $3 to $4 a pound range.
Yeah, right. I got to get a deep freeze for that, but.
Well, that's what I did when I got the house. I got a deep freezer and I got a quarter of a cow, and now there's a deer in there. So
I'm just gonna see if I can go moose hunting with my uncle. And
if you take a look there, sitting behind me back there is the European mount. I haven't gotten up on the wall next to the other one, but that's the deer I took the other week.
Nice.
Good on you, man.
Yeah, I just picked one up at the processor for the boss man this morning. He's out of town and they sell it if you don't come get it before too long.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how that works?
They
had 4 days to get
on the wall. And, I mean, this is Podunkville. This is down in Talbot County, Georgia, near Meriwether, down around the Pine Mountain area.
Mm-hmm.
Middle of nowhere. Hadn't really been a relevant town in 50, 60 years when they had a mill. And, you go to the deer processor, you're buying ground deer meat, sausage, $3.50 a pound.
That's not bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll do that all day.
But
I love deer sausage.
Back to the pandemic part of this, I guess. Page 757 of this omnibus bill amended the Prevent Pandemic Act to say the secretary may not revise the vaccine injury table to include a vaccine for which the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has issued a recommendation for routine use in children or pregnant women until at least one application for such a vaccine has been approved. Upon such revision of the vaccine injury table, all vaccines in a vaccine category on the vaccine injury table, including vaccines authorized under emergency use, shall be considered included in the vaccine injury table. And it adds an injury or death related to and administered at the time when the vaccine was a covered countermeasure, subject to a declaration under section 319F-3B, should not be eligible for compensation under the program. So it sounds like anything passed under emergency use authorization, they're saying, if we call it, if we put something through under emergency use, it doesn't get covered no matter what.
Again, why would you need immunity from that if it was not true?
Why does this need to be shoved through last second in a continuing resolution? That's what everything needs to be asked.
Since when does the CDC dictate the vaccine schedule? You know, they can make recommendations. That's just like the FDA making nutrition recommendations. The USDA sets the nutritional guidelines for the country.
Yeah.
You know, but the average guy that just, wears a sticker, I voted, doesn't know that. You know, so somebody in a nice white lab coat with a clipboard said something, must be official.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fishy.
Well, things started to turn a little bit on Twitter anyway when Elon came out against it. And then it looks like, which accidentally just closed that one, but then Trump came out against it. And then before long, as far as I was aware, it was just dying. It was almost dead. And then he said, Elon said, your elected representatives have heard you, and now the terrible bill is dead. The voice of the people have triumphed. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
What's that mean?
So,
Voice of the people
is,
oh,
yeah. So, what was the legacy media saying at the same time? Because I wasn't really paying attention to them, but I think they were acting like it was the end of the world, weren't they?
They're still acting like it's the end of the world. So you have a lot of, I think they were
it's always
generally
the end of the
trying
world.
to,
It's good for business.
yeah, I didn't catch much coverage on it before it got picked up by Elon. I've seen a ton of how dare this billionaire do this, and it's going to hurt everyone, and if we don't do this, people will die type stuff that they try to use for emotional manipulation. But the fact is, now with Elon's Twitter, this is out there. We're seeing screenshots of stuff right out of the bill, and people going, "What is going on here? Why is this a continuing resolution? If you're doing this, you're supposed to say, all right, we're just covering what we've already been covering. We'll take this up later." That's not what you're doing. You're shoving all this pork through. And then you had, I guess, I don't know if a lot of the representatives were asleep or some of them, but I know they started, as soon as Elon started talking, they started going, ugh, and you started seeing tweets on online where they were saying, where they were coming out and saying, all right, now I'm against this. And a couple of them are doing trolley videos and stuff like that to say, okay, we're against this. But then you have representatives in Congress like, Rep. Debbie Dingell from Michigan. Elon Musk snaps his fingers and we shut down the government. It's unacceptable. We're in office to serve the people we represent, not unelected billionaires. We need to reach an agreement that puts the American people first and keeps the government open. So that's the story they're running with, and you're seeing that in the corporate press as well.
What are they mad about?
So
they're mad because all the pork that they wanted to throw in there got called out by Elon.
That's what I'm saying. But like, what's the what
like
point are they making?
Van Jones and those type, like on CNN, which by the way, Time Warner just declared them a toxic asset. And wants to distance themselves from it. Like CNN's about to get dropped from all the cable listings.
They're really to the lowest they've ever been, I think.
Oh, well, and then not only that, but I mean, some of the stuff they're saying on there is just god awful. Like it's beyond just bad news. It's beyond just fake news. It's some of these guys are trying to do like calls to action, and it's like we can't do that. But
the very people that were trying to say that some of the J6 stuff was like a call to action and things like that, but it's okay for them to do things like that, and I've seen quite a bit of that, like from more of that,
but left-minded. They're upset that like they're saying that Trump has sold this country off to a billionaire, as though a billionaire with man boobs hasn't been selling me health advice for the last 4.5 years. Get off my freaking screen with that, dude. Really? We got some billionaire just calling the shots like he owns the government. Huh. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. But it's not the approved billionaire. It's not the flavor that we approve. Yeah.
That's because it's not like he's out there trying to push through legislation that, I don't know, dumps extra money into SpaceX or gives protections for Tesla. He got out there and said, hey, you guys can't be approving this kind of shit. Like
maybe he needs to go to Epstein Island.
Just literally everything. Like this is, the
but they'll say billionaire, with such disdain, like Bill Gates hadn't been shoved down our throats for the last presidential term.
Yeah.
Just say it. You don't have to sugarcoat it. You don't have to come up with some kind of fancy term. You're mad. It's an African American calling the shots now, and he's not Democrat.
Got him.
I think what the big thing here is they especially on the Dem side with the outgoing administration, they were trying to get shoved through every little thing they could, because I don't think that, and I think they should have expected it earlier to lose the election, but they were playing with playing that the polls were accurate, and it was 50-50, neck and neck. Who knows how it's going to go? And they were
playing
hoping
with the polls.
And it came back to bite them, because now in the lame duck, they're trying to push through everything that they wish to try to mess with the incoming administration and slow it down. You're seeing that administratively. They went through and set new Paris Climate Accord goals for 2035 that came out today. So now that's another thing that's going to have to be undone.
Where your car has to be a bike now, or
and how are we going to reduce the carbon? But
if you live in China, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
After that new protection goes through in the continuing resolution, they'll give a new climate change vaccine. It'll be an emergency use authorization. It'll lower your body temperature 5 degrees to stave off global warming.
It's hilarious and scary.
All right. So yesterday at this point, when I'd seen Elon come out against it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now we're talking. But okay, I'd seen Elon come out against it. Donald Trump come out against it. Ramaswamy was making noise. And it seemed like it was actually going to die. And then it died. And I was like, oh, but surely it didn't actually have to do with random nonsense on Twitter, did it?
Mm.
And I was pretty convinced it was going to die anyway. It wasn't the Twitter noise. And then I read this here, which this guy's name is Chad Pergram probably. And he is a senior congressional correspondent for Fox News. So I guess he's kind of in the mix. We can trust that he knows what's going on a little bit, within the legacy media anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, GOP Kentucky Rep Barr on continuing resolution. The phone was ringing off the hook today. And you know why? Because they were reading the tweets, the X from Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. And they were telling me that they were listening to them. This shows the influence of that president, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy having the process before they're even in office.
Mm-hmm.
The American people, this is a long quote if this guy really said all this. The American people elected Donald Trump, and the American people want us to pay attention to that election and the election results. So we've got to work. So basically, this guy was confirming, hey, we're all sitting in our office looking at Twitter and freaking out about what people are saying. So it did play a part, probably a pretty big part, in why the giant 1,000 something page bill is dead. And now they're scrambling last minute to see if they can do something else.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lesson there also where, as you mentioned, the phone was ringing off the hook. We use that when we're pushing Defend the Garden states, is get as many people calling from local phone numbers as possible to targeted reps who are on the fence or have a committee vote or whatever it is, and nail them until they basically cry uncle. And either get really pissed off and say we're not doing this anymore, or or fine, you win, we'll vote for you.
Just be the squeaky wheel. Yeah.
So like Steve said, you can't just show up once every 2 to 4 years and push a button. But when you see something that really pisses you off, spend the 5 minutes, pick up the phone, call them, and tell them how pissed off you are. And as everyone does that every time they're pissed off, then of course, you don't get to speak to your rep, but you get to distract their staff from doing important things or goofing off or whatever they do up there. So that's a positive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Screwing in the back room on camera.
Yeah.
Doing cocaine while there should be reading apparently 1,500 pages.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to read 1,500 pages,
yeah.
probably some coke could help. But
That actually is probably true.
That could be one of the cures for male loneliness.
That's how you speak.
There is someone that you already pay money to that will listen to all your problems, and they won't make it harder for you to buy life insurance later on. It's your representative. You can call them and tell them everything on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or at least their secretary.
Right.
Although you got to kind of be relevant, right? Like if you start going off on tangents, they're going to hang up on you. But if you're staying relevant to, how pissed off you are over something, they start, they get to the point where their staff is only answering calls and they can't keep up. They will actually take notice that emails don't work because you can filter all that to spam or just ignore it till whenever. But if you pick up their phone and you prevent other calls from getting through because everyone's nailing those lines, that tends to work.
Yeah. I don't know if email doesn't work or if it's just like the least effective of all those, but I do remember with the LNC anyway, like when the Mises Caucus was doing the takeover and all the LNC members were getting like an inbox full of emails every time they did something we didn't like. They complained about it. They were like, I can't believe people are doing this. Like, I don't know, just learn to work your filters. You'll be fine. But
yeah, but
and I remember I talked
or be better.
Yeah.
In government, they might not care. It might be constant flood anyway. But I remember I was talking to.
You can't send anthrax with an email though, so
it's unfortunate. I mean, you can send an anthrax.mp3, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an MP3.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, I remember talking to the executive director of the GOP in Georgia and her saying something like, I forget the specifics, but it's like if you call your representative, they assume there's like 10 other people that feel like that per people who called.
Yeah.
If you actually go down
when
there,
you see
and
one
visit,
cockroach, you assume there's like 50
That's
more.
how they think of us, honestly. Well, there's one cockroach.
There's a reason why I brought that up. Yeah.
But anyway, she's saying if you go down there and actually visit or, schedule an appointment or something like that, they assume it's like 50 or 100 because the amount of people who are actually willing to do that are pretty low. So it probably represents a bunch of people who have the same belief, but don't necessarily put in the action.
Right.
So even a single phone call, I mean, it's probably not going to feel great. You're not going to feel like you solved everything and you might get ignored, but you're at least batting with the strength of 10 people rather than,
There's a better chance that something
whatever.
will happen if you do than if you don't,
I guess.
If it's all one-sided too, they really have to think about it. That really puts it in their head that they have to think about what their people are saying. But if they're not hearing anything, they care. They can just believe, no one really cares one way or the other, and I'm just going to do what I want.
Yeah.
But the more pressure you can turn up on them like that, and not being a dick about it. Like if you call and act like a dickhead, that you're going to get ignored. But like if you're respectful and just calmly explain why they're useless,
or put it in their terms. I mean, when there was an opportunity to testify for Defend the Guard here in Georgia last year, and I'm sure there'll be another one coming up. And I went to that. And I'm like, well, my representative here is here, but she's a Democrat. I don't really, agree with her 99% of the time, but I can at least put this issue in her terms. And I did. And I kind of gave like the leftist argument for it of, why they should
appeal to
support
her.
this.
Yeah.
And she did. She voted it out of committee. And then I heard her on the way out telling Colton Moore, thank you for bringing us such a good bill this time. And I think it's that she liked the attention. So, I don't know. Everybody's different.
Weird.
It's not going to work on everybody. But for this one person, they're just like, hey, I'm getting a lot of positive attention. So I'm going to vote yes with the people who are here giving me the attention.
So even if it's like fanning ego flames or whatever, like there's still a way to work that. But not the most encouraging.
No,
anecdote,
she shouldn't be in government for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, go ahead, Nick.
What was really fun is like with some of the Defend the Guard ones. Since New Hampshire, they pay their state house reps like $100 a year because they work for like 2 weeks or a month, and there's 400 and something of them. And when we were making calls there, they just have everyone's phone number. Like I called and literally talked to like the chair of the committee. He had to answer his phone, and I'm like, I support this, and here's the reasons, and I think you should do it, because he was squishy at the time on it. But and then of course, like the Defend the Guard guys are really good at getting people's personal cell phones also, and then posting it out and saying, hey guys, personal number, hit it and hit it hard.
Oh.
So that'll happen too, where someone who might be on, someone on the maybe the bill sponsor or whatever says, hey, why don't you guys give him the call? And then that person's not being particularly receptive, and they go, "Hey guys, why don't you give this committee chair a call? Here's his personal cell phone number," and you have at it.
I found it in a
Yeah.
bathroom stall somewhere.
I don't know how they get it or not or whatever, but I've seen it multiple times where they're like, "Hey, here's this person's personal phone number. Give them a call."
I mean, you can find these things on Google if you're determined enough. Because before they were representatives, they were usually just some dude, and their numbers out there somewhere.
The numbers are around,
especially if they
yeah.
ran a business. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like election data, like there's voter gravity that the LNC has and whatever. I can pull, it's not just like the registered data, but they match that up with like Aristotle or LexisNexis data or whatever. And of course, in there, your phone numbers are somewhere around, and they'll just, you can go in there and you can get basically anyone's phone number. So, and the email address and whatever else. So,
I always get some calls, but just as a side note, I've been getting 5 a day, like just spam calls the past couple of weeks. It's just blown up lately. It's really annoying. Like literally
my phone's
5
been
a day.
quiet since the election ended.
Mine started
mine's been
around then
quiet.
and has even ramped up even more.
See, like we were getting nailed here in Pennsylvania, just constantly. Make sure you vote. Here's this, here's that. Just like 10, 20 a day. Like when I was canvassing my local polling place, trying to win some votes, I literally had someone who was like, "Yeah, I almost decided to not vote as a fuck you to the people who just keep sending these
Keep
calls."
calling, yeah.
And then it's like these calls and these texts and stuff, and then I have to go and explain to people sometimes that, like, hey, technically they're not, since you never signed up and opted into their list, technically there's supposed to be someone behind there hitting the send button, and you might be able to send the message back and let your opinion be heard a little bit. So
I like people sending me credit card ads. Hey, apply for this loan, apply for this credit card, and then they send you the prepaid postage envelope inside of that. You take all your political mailers and you just fold them up because they're going to be kind of heavy too. You just fold them up, shove them in that thing, and mail them back to the credit card companies.
Fun.
I like it.
But then they both leave you alone. It's great.
Project Mayhem.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, with the continuing resolution, we're almost up to current time now. So there was another bill that came out, and here the new one was 116 pages compared to the previous 1,547.
That's an improvement.
So a bit of an improvement. And then here's something like based on what we were talking about earlier, and I even pulled this up. Thomas Massey talks about if you're going to do this correctly, it isn't complicated. Separate the bill and vote on them individually.
I agree.
One vote on the clean continuing resolution, one vote on the debt limit, one vote on disaster relief, and one vote on the farm bailouts. And that's because they're talking about Helene relief and farmer bailouts being like the reason they absolutely have to pass this. But it's like there's a way to do it without this gigantic, like borderline omnibus bill.
Yeah.
So, and this is it. They just don't want to do this.
Which, back in the Obama years, I remember when they called Cromnibus because it was so large. And it was only like 900 pages, I think. It was just over 800, something like that. It was under 1,000. And then this thing's 1,500 plus. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they're just setting new records with how much crap they can shove in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And then the nice news, I guess, is that if this doesn't pass, then, well, I don't know. I might be getting a little ahead of myself, but basically, if nothing passes,
the vote failed.
Yeah, it failed. We'll get to that in just a second. But if nothing passes Friday night when Congress hopes to adjourn, if they adjourn for the holidays and there's not a funding bill passed, the government will shut down. So
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't mean the government ceases to exist. Like we would like, but a bunch of nonsense will happen. So
when this started happening with like a few years ago, and it was the first time I had kind of like really like heard it, and I looked it up, and it was like, oh, like almost nothing happens. It's like no one's there to clean your national park. Like I'm
Yeah.
being a little facetious,
Well,
but like
that's what
Well,
we're
that's
going to talk
what
about
it
next.
is they shut down all the stuff people like. That way
Yeah.
people get pissed off and demand
Yeah.
that anything passes, right? They go,
yeah,
oh, you can't go to you can't walk past the national monument. You can't
Yeah.
show up to a national park. But like, yeah, the FBI is still going to kick in your door if they feel like it.
yep. All
Yep.
of the things that you don't want are still there, and all of the things that you might like are closed. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
the positives are gone and all the negatives are still there. So
I
Yeah, it's like a
remember,
hangover, but no beer. Like,
the last time they did a shutdown, it lasted like a couple of months. That was what they did. They, national parks got shut down first.
yep.
Because I remember I went to North Georgia, tried to go to Brasstown Bald, and they were like, Brasstown's closed. I was like, how do you close a mountain?
How do you
Shut up.
close a
yeah.
mountain? And how do you close a mountain that like the public owns? Like,
Right.
yeah,
Like you,
they spend more money and they go, oh well, shutdown will be expensive because they still have to pay for the operations to shut it down by putting up fences and whatever else they're talking about there. And so if it's going to shut down, you want it to be you at least want to get your money's worth and make sure it's shut down for a while.
But then like the Brasstown. Okay, so you can't park your car in the parking lot. Okay, so you have to park your car at the base of the hill, just off the side of the road, because they got the road gated off, and it's like, oh no, I have to walk a mile of the Appalachian Trail to go see Brasstown now. It's not close. You walk to it.
Oh no, I have to hike in a national park.
Right. It's
Yeah.
a mountain on an established trail. You don't close that.
Yeah.
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 And it's just that was the kind of crap they would do. But they did shut down NOAA, or at least for civilian applications for NOAA. So
Oh,
they do a
okay.
lot of the GPS processing stuff. So
Yeah.
if you
You would know from your work,
eyes
right?
on, processing GPS data at all, that's a pain.
Did that affect the survey work?
Yes.
That's not cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, the Royal Australian, what was it? It was the Australian Royal Astronomical Society. They have a fantastic processing tool. So
Do they have satellites that you
They're
use
the
or something?
Aussies.
Or?
no, it wasn't their satellites. I just had to send off my files to be reduced.
Oh,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they weren't shut down.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Look at that. The market provides.
Yep. I was
Right.
just gonna say we have alternatives. Oh my God. I think every time they shut down the government, it basically just shines more light on, oh, there's a better way.
yeah, we don't need them for this crap anyways. Yeah.
No.
But
I would
Yep.
so much rather have just like a private company that like you pay them, you get a park pass, and then they clean the bathrooms and we're done. Like even just with the national park, example or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Or like like Aldi with the shopping carts. Like you
What's
pay
the
a
story with that?
restroom-
I don't.
to get into
shop
the
there.
park, you pay a restroom cleaning fee. They give you a wristband, and if your wristband never crosses the threshold of a bathroom, you get your money back.
Oh, gotcha.
How about
Yeah.
something like that?
that would just encourage people doing it behind the tree.
Yeah, I do think
Yeah.
in this case that might be.
Well, I just need
Yeah,
to pay
good
it no
point.
matter what.
Yeah, good
There
point.
might be a lot of foxholes out there. That's true.
Yeah.
But
All right.
in general, I like this approach for other things that don't involve
Yeah.
doo-doo.
Yeah.
So real quick with the continuing resolution, I think we're up to current time now. Like Nick said a minute ago, this shorter bill still failed.
Mhm.
And right before the show, I was listening to the news about it, and they were saying that it was done through a suspension of the rules. So it would have taken 2/3 to pass, meaning that they would have needed about 80 Democrats to vote for it also. But the Democrats, like the old one, the one that was full of pork, they had no problem with that.
Mhm.
So they were all voting against it, and it sounds like it died.
Mhm.
So I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen? Because it sounds like Speaker Johnson could pass this thing with the Democrats, but with Trump just having won an election and what people are calling a mandate, do you want to do that and piss everybody off who just voted against this type of nonsense?
Well,
And
I
while
think
you guys take that, I'm going to take a quick break, but go ahead
Mhm.
and just go crazy on that question.
We'll chew on that one. Yeah.
I
Go ahead,
I
Nick.
think what you've got to do is lean in and say, But look at the Democrats. They want the government shut down this time. They won't take a very reasonable, just continue this until we can debate the actual thing. And of course, for political purposes, the Democrats know come January, they're going to be in the minority. So they're going to use every leverage they can. And so I'm guessing this shutdown is going to probably go until unless something, but at this point, I'm going to predict a shutdown until the new Congress gets
Until
sworn in.
inauguration.
Until
here we go.
at least the inauguration.
Democratic rep from New Hampshire, Ann McLean Custer. Elon Musk is not my constituent. My constituents are hardworking people who work very hard every day for every dime they have. I'm sure as hell not bailing out on them in the final week. I want my pork. I added that last part, but
yeah.
Yeah, so it's you have to frame them as the bad guys in this case. Where, hey, look, I think very clearly they are the bad guys, right? Like they want to shove a midnight 1,500-page bill through with all this stuff and say, "Oh, this is just a bill to continue funding the government," and it's full of stuff, and it was thrown in last second. And I think you have to tell them, I think it's one of those things where you've got to say, look, where the framing of it has to be, look at how much they're trying to steal from you on their way out the door. They want
absolutely.
as much as they can.
So
they're going
apparently
to take whatever they can.
There was a spending deal was released that moves the debt ceiling out to January 30th, 2027.
So Trump, that's part of what Trump is pushing, I guess, is at least a 2-year suspension of the debt ceiling, which, look,
Because he's a no limit soldier. I thought I told you.
It's not a good thing, but also like the national debt is not constrained by this arbitrary number that Congress sets, and they don't have any target for it. They don't have any idea what they're doing with it. They literally pick a number and say, all right, this is going to be our limit, and that's going to be that, and we'll bring it up when we can get near it again. And then, of course, a little bit it goes up again. So
it's a really big number, like kicking of the can kind of thing. Like,
it's just so all the debt ceiling is a formality for them to kick the can on this, and it's.
Do you guys remember when Rand Paul was filibustering against the debt ceiling increase?
Mm-mm.
And it was approaching 19 trillion. Because at the time that was back when the UK had just had their austerity measures that caused all kind of riots, and then Greece did that bail.
I was going to mention Greece at this time. That's what
it was like Greece, Malta, Cyprus. They all did their bail-ins. Where like
bail-ins.
Yeah. Well, we noticed you had over 500,000 drachma in your account, so we shaved you down to 500,000 because no one needs more than that. And
okay,
right, and that's everybody was like, "What? What are you talking about?" How about people actually go to work?
Yeah,
that was what I understand. The Greeks love their lunch breaks very much. So.
Well, you can't live in a vacation spot and be expected to work.
Right,
you just get everything for free.
Yeah, well, I've been told that if you go to college and pick a major that you really enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life because that field is not hiring.
I mean,
I relate a little too much with that one.
You might end up at Starbucks. So
I have not heard the twist on that before. That was like hilarious and also like a dagger to my heart. I went to school for fine arts, so not the best.
But so anyway, like what sparked those austerity measures in Greece, Malta, Cyprus, the UK, and I mean, all those countries had riots. Like you thought the BLM, George Floyd shit was bad. Like their countries were on fire.
Yeah.
Not like Greece is now due to wildfires.
Right.
But,
a different kind.
They were actually having some legit riots.
Yeah.
Per capita debt, we are already more than double where Greece was.
Oof. That's interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the stats that Rand Paul was throwing out when he was filibustering. We can't break 20 trillion.
Mm.
Cool story, bro. We're at 35 now.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. It's the debt levels are unsustainable, but also, unfortunately, every other fiat currency central bank is pulling the same stuff, and them not having reserve status makes it actually look better for us because there's still demand for the dollar outside of the U.S., which props it up versus all these other currencies, which only has internal demand. So, we can keep the game going a little longer, but not forever. So,
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I gotta bounce out a little early tonight, guys. I got a trip coming up this weekend. I gotta finish a little bit of wrapping and packing here.
There you
Going
go.
somewhere
Love you,
fun?
brother. Merry Christmas.
It was good to hang out with you for a little bit, though, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers. Merry
Yes.
Christmas.
Good seeing you, Alden. See you next
Yeah.
time. All right. Let me get this thing on the 3-person layout. This is fine for now.
it works. Whatever.
Anyway,
Keep going.
so Steven, you remember the government shutdown under Obama? Like how ridiculous that was with them shutting down like the roadside pull off to see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And like just all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of the monuments too, like the the Vietnam name wall. It's got all the names of all the victims, all the fallen soldiers in Vietnam. They put a gate at the wheelchair ramp.
Wow.
Like you could still walk up to, like all you had to do was like walk in the grass and step over a little rope.
if you can walk.
Right. You can make, they only shut off the wheelchair folks.
If you have your
didn't they-
legs blown off and numb, then you're out of
Right.
luck.
Didn't they shut down basically everything on the mall? Like all the Smithsonian, could you even walk on the mall? Like, or did they shut down the grass on that and put fencing around the whole thing also?
There were stupid things going on for sure.
Yeah.
Like it was, some stuff wasn't closed and others were. And it was like they would let you in a certain area, but you couldn't get in the bathrooms because they were closed. Stuff like that. It was just petty things that you could tell it was just there. It was just enough to piss you off. Like you could get there, but then like you couldn't really get there.
And like I said, it cost them money to actually go through the closing procedures on this and the reopening to the point where it probably cost less for them to just not do the stupid things.
Yes.
But of course, this is the government, so.
Well, and we had a Keynesian in the White House, so of course the government solution is more expensive.
Yeah, a Keynesian though, not a Kenyan.
Right.
I remember that mistake was made a lot. Oh
No,
yeah,
he's one of those two.
could have been, but I remember people getting like really pissed about that back in the time, where it's like I said, he's a Keynesian, like economics, not that he's a Kenyan, but
Yeah, he's
Although he was.
although he might be that too. Yeah.
Man.
So.
All right. Well, let's see. I brought up earlier this picture of, during one of the last government shutdowns, you can see they shut down the national parks. Couldn't even go see the Jefferson Memorial or pull over to see Mount Rushmore. And then here's an old Snopes article back when they were actually kind of funny. It says, spiteful Obama blocks view of Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
And it has this picture, which is hilarious and obviously fake and watermarked with Mr. Pinko, but they still had to rate that false. Like, hey, we're the smart fact checkers here to tell you that they didn't actually use 2 helicopters to lift the sheet in front of Mount Rushmore.
I would expect something like that from them, though.
I mean, that would be fun. I think people would want to shut down the government then to see this type of stuff.
Those were the best years ever because the officials, the fact checkers or like they had no idea what was satire and what wasn't.
No.
It's just it was shine the perfect spotlight on how out of touch they are. They're just over there sniffing their own farts all day, and they just can't tell a joke when they see it because PolitiFact has done that a lot. So said this, and it's like just because the guy's a politician, all of a sudden he can't make a joke.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have friends even that'll be like, can you believe people are saying this crazy conspiracy? And they'll say something I've never heard of in my life. And I'm like, sir, I'm a conspiracy connoisseur and I've never heard that. I can guarantee you that is made up and no one's saying it.
There's so much like blue anon stuff that comes out that's just like, yeah, the conspiracy
Yeah.
theorists are saying this, and it's like, no one ever said that at all. But then you have, of course, Snopes, and they're, well, it's false, but really it was true. But we said one little part that was kind of irrelevant to it that was false.
Yeah.
So false.
Exactly. Like, well, this is propaganda. Now that you pointed out, because at the time Obama had, not personally, he didn't go out there and do this, but his administration did the thing where they made it as uncomfortable for people as possible. People didn't get their paychecks. People couldn't go see Mount Rushmore or whatever. But all the
Social Security, they stopped.
Yeah. But all the bull crap continued. We were still at war and whatever. They were still going to collect taxes that year. So that was the complaint. And then this fact check is, did they use helicopters to lift a sheet in front of it? No, they didn't do that. But they did make it very annoying and make it so people couldn't go look at it out of spite.
Pretty much. And from my understanding too, Mount Rushmore is like the most popular of all of our national landmarks. I've seen, I haven't been able to verify. I've seen things claiming that like more than 200,000 people a year or something like that go to Mount Rushmore, which is substantial. I mean, because days they're closed for weather, all of that. Certain holidays, some days. I mean, you factor that in. It's a pretty busy site.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, you go out to North Dakota for that, South Dakota, whatever Dakota it's in, and then, you probably swing west from there and hit like Yellowstone and, Grand Teton. So, like, that kind of loop, I think, is where the national parks are biggest. Except, like, maybe if you're talking Yosemite, because that's California and so close to a massive population center.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 million, not 200,000. Sorry.
It's better.
Like 2.5 million.
It has
Some
more than
quack
like
says-
Gates of the Arctic.
More than what?
Gates of the Arctic.
I don't even know that one.
It's like it's very, very far north Alaska with no roads to get there. You have to fly in.
Huh. I wonder why Mount Rushmore is more popular. Anyway,
Right.
That sounds awesome, though. I would love to see that. But Some Quack says, I like the idea of memes wasting fact checkers' sites' time, which I agree with.
It was the best. It was the best. I'll admit I fell into the Kekistan crowd in 2015, 2016.
I enjoyed what was happening at that time.
It was
Oh
fun
my
to
God,
watch.
the headbanging pigeon.
Yeah, the
Rolling
trash
Stone.
pigeon.
Yes, Rolling Stone put out this article about like it's some kind of racist dog whistle.
It was literally a reaction on Facebook Messenger.
Right. That was it. That was it.
I like the African guy wearing the military uniform declaring himself president of Kekistan. He would do videos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was basically like Cameo or something before that existed. Like, we'll just pay some guy to say something.
Oh, and they drove Shia LaBeouf nuts.
That was amazing.
That was one of the
because he was doing that whole "He Will Not Divide Us" campaign, and they followed him everywhere on the planet. Anytime he raised one of those flags, a drone would come set it on fire.
They literally looked at the sky and looked at the stars and triangulated in what area it was in, and then they had someone drive around honking their horn until they could hear it on the stream, and then directed them in from there.
Yes, that was such a great period of history.
Oh, that was the best. Those were the best years because entire news sites. I mean, Hillary Clinton had to go on CNN talking about the trash pigeon, and it was nothing, and they wasted so much time on it.
Yeah, see, I remember Crowder. I remember Steven Crowder doing an episode in front of that camera.
Yeah, dude, people got like somewhat internet famous just based off showing up and crashing this thing.
Right.
And basically, what we're looking at is like Shia LaBeouf put up a camera somewhere in New York City, and he was going to stand in front of it for like 4 years or something, saying, "He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us." Like, that was the plan. But instead, people started showing up behind him and trolling and like doing Roman salutes on the camera and just all sorts of crazy stuff.
Or like I
And
said,
it
Steven Carter
escalated from
did a
there.
whole episode of his show on YouTube using that camera.
Yeah. And Shyla, I don't even know how to say his name. He got arrested at one point for like punching somebody because they got under his skin.
Yeah, that was in
Yeah, there we
Savannah,
go.
Georgia.
That was it. It was in Savannah?
Oh, well, that was when he was filming one of the Transformers movies, too. He was done in
Oh,
Savannah.
I think there's been multiple events like that.
He got drunk and someone, a fellow Kekistani, they were in his face repping their set, and he didn't like it that much.
I think one of the funniest things from that time period was an MSNBC segment reporting on it called Kekistan Rising, and it was hilarious. It's like they were trying to like act like it was some serious thing. You could just tell it's everyone. It's just a ton of jokes going on. Normies get out stuff like that.
I've seen there was a documentary that Netflix has done recently too, where they're talking about like 4chan and its political power, how it gained political power. And I'm like, y'all did not cover Kekistan hardly enough.
No,
yeah, that's weird.
That whole meme magic stuff at that time was wild to be following.
Oh yeah.
Look at this clip real quick. This is like what, 2016?
Yeah, it was.
And there's an Ukrainian flag being flown. Wow.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah, I remember they also found out that Kek was a Babylonian frog god or something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a whole wild thing because Kek is like the Korean way of saying LOL in online. So then so I guess in the like internet culture,
it was the World
that's
of
a
Warcraft way of saying it too.
Yeah. Well,
That's
because it came
exactly
out
right.
of Korea or something. So they started saying that, then they realized it was an Egyptian frog god. Then they started realizing their post numbers on 4chan kept coming up with doubles and triple ending it.
Yep.
And so as they were posting Trump stuff, so there was this whole meme magic thing going into that point of time with it was wild.
Oh, and then the song Shadowlay.
Shadowlay.
Yeah. I mean, we could spend 2 hours just on that, but I'm sure we're losing people by now.
Yeah,
I remember the Kek thing, and I know you know this, Steven. It was like from World of Warcraft because I guess the orcs had their language garbled so that you could, like, if someone typed, it would be garbled so that other races couldn't read that. So LOL always translated to Kek or something like that. So that's where it came from.
And that's why I picked up on it so quickly, because Horde all the way, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're playing it.
Let's do it for a second. Hopefully they don't have like horrible copyright like policing on this.
It's an Italian pop band from the 80s, so I don't think they're around anymore.
Yeah, Shadowlay called Pepe, and then they had the Pepe name. It was,
and it has a frog on the CD. That's insane.
Like the parallels were wild on this.
I gotta go bring it.
Yeah. Not the best song. Yeah, so it says Shadowlight Point Emerging Probability Engineering, which spells Pepe, and then they have a frog on the CD.
And it's called Magic Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
See if the MSNBC Kekistan Rising thing is still up, because that thing was hilarious, and a couple seconds of that was.
I'll look for that in a minute.
Great entertainment. Yeah, that I laughed my eyes out whenever I laughed so hard whenever I first saw that. It was.
Is this real?
Yes, it's real. It's real. So the first time Jordan Peterson came on Joe Rogan, this was what he talked about for like 45 minutes.
So we're looking at Wikipedia for Kek, and it has Kek is the deification of the concept of primordial darkness in the ancient Egyptian something cosmology, whatever. And then the thing here is like an Egyptian hieroglyphic with a frog face.
Yeah.
This is getting deep.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah, this whole thing. If you ever dive deep into it, it gets really, really wild on like everything that was going on back then.
So what is the like crux of it? Like go as deep as possible. So meme magic is real. Was Keck like a god who chose Trump or something? Like
yes, so
happened?
it was the
Okay.
memeing of it was the meme magic on 4chan that led Keck to who, you know, parallels with the Pepe the Frog cartoon, which was also big at the time. A huge part of this. You know, they had the cartoon and they find the Egyptian god Keck and Keck with the LOL thing in there already. So like all this stuff tied together. And then whenever they were on 4chan making these posts, like going crazy celebrating Trump, like I said, I guess on 4chan, every post has a number that comes up that's basically random, just whatever comes up next in the sequence. And I guess it was already big if you had the same like numbers, you know, double numbers ending it or triple numbers. And whenever they'd post Trump stuff, they'd keep getting the double numbers and the triple numbers. So they kept throwing more and more memes and kept getting that. And they kind of were behaving like it was a self-reinforcing cycle that memed the first Trump
so basically,
presidency
you know, Trump's first time around, the autistic army got him in, is basically what it boils down to. They and it's not so much they were pro-Trump, it's just they hated Hillary so much.
Grumpy.
They put Trump in there.
Yeah. And it was just a giant troll campaign.
Yeah. Good night, Grumpy.
So here is the is this what you're talking about, Nick?
Yeah, let's play a little bit of it in some
spots. 5 minutes long, so we'll play the whole thing.
Yeah, don't play
the internet. These days, it's at the center of our lives. It's where we live, work, and play. And like it or not, it is a place we must share with people from all walks of life. The good, the bad, and the trolls.
What do you say to those people? I mean, it's the offensive comments that were made.
Yes, I say good. Good, if I offended.
That's when Neopolis was still gay.
And the trolls, it seems, have found religion.
And so now they have this Republic of Keck, and it's ruled by this Egyptian god whose name is Keck, who's a frog.
Hold on, go back. There's a frog with a Make America Great Again hat, and he's got like a tombstone. It says, "Those who served in the meme war, 2015 and 2016. We are the gods of the great meme war. We are the shit posters, the Legion of Keck. We are the internet, the death of the normies. Lulz and Keck, we are one." What in the f*** is going on?
They call themselves Kekastanis, and they claim to be an oppressed people from an embattled nation called Kekistan, with their own god, culture, and religion. Listen as this self-described Keck priestess explains the tenets of her religion.
My name is Margaret, and I'd like to invite you to join me in an ongoing series entitled Praise Keck, which hopes to fully explain the way in which meme magic from the ancient world has been brought back to life by modern internet users who only wish to remain anonymous, with all glory going to the frog. Current scholars believe that the god Keck cleaved time itself, saving us, his chosen people, to live in the timeline where Trump wins the election, known affectionately as the Berenstein universe, after the cultural artifact of the beloved children's books which definitively prove the double standard theory.
Is this an internet cult?
Praise Keck and read!
Or is it, as the kids would say,
It's just a prank, bro.
Whatever it is, it's the latest in a long line of sexist, racist, and homophobic memes by the alt-right targeting your children.
Hello, Jesus here. Just want to let you all know that Hitler did absolutely nothing wrong.
The Kekistan meme first appeared earlier this year, shortly after Trump was elected president. The brainchild of this man, right-wing radio host Sargon of Akkad, who started the Keck diaspora as a way to spread white supremacist Pepe memes and to wage war on what he calls the normies.
It is time to strike back. I hereby declare a meme jihad on all normies. Normies, get out.
We in the media got our first taste of this war when these strange flags started showing up at Trump rallies all across the nation.
guys, we need some Pakistani people are here.
Shot of it. There you go. Okay, 30 seconds.
Okay,
Let's see.
Pakistan is.
Oh yeah.
All right. Is that basically the 4chan logo on the Keck flag too?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they did some variations of it too. I think the most popular one was the rainbow Confederate flag with Keck in the middle. But yeah, it was
let's
cra-
pick up.
and they called it alt-right. So like that's the part where like, and that was where Hillary Clinton tried to steer the narrative against it, because it was just trolls. It wasn't like it had no political movement to it at all. And then politicians started picking on it, and then it was like, okay, well, we're whatever
it was out in the open trolling too. It's like the thing that was on the screen, the OK symbol. I remember seeing a post where like, hey everybody, we're gonna make the OK symbol sound like it's a white supremacist thing. It's not. We're just gonna do it for fun.
Yeah, I remember when that happened, and I was sitting there laughing that they were. And then it started getting picked up by the corporate press, saying that it's a white supremacist symbol, and I'm like, that's too easy.
Oh yeah,
let's watch this part of it.
Depends on a secret language of sexist, racist, homophobic code words and symbols. For instance, snowflake is code for black person. SJW is code for stingy Jew. There's the term cuck, a derogatory for men who love obese women, and trap, which means hot girl, I wanna rape. Then there's the code word they seem to use most.
It's normies.
Normies?
Normies.
Uncle Pepe wants you to defend Kekistan from normie invasion.
For far too long, normies have oppressed the Kekistani. The establishment and the normies will not divide us.
What is a normie?
Yeah, that clip right there of that girl shouting "re," I laughed so hard when that came out. That was my first encounter with the word "re" ever. That's Brittany Venti, by the way.
There were
really?
at least 3 Christmases that my family would watch videos of Shia LaBeouf losing his mind against internet trolls. Like that was our family entertainment.
This was an MSNBC report from the time. Like this.
This isn't real.
On this. It's hilarious.
This isn't real. This is satire.
It used to be on. I thought it used to be on the MSNBC site page.
I don't think so. This doesn't feel real to me. It looks fake and it sounds fake.
Yeah. But the Kekistan movement was real and its impact was real. That is for sure. Because in the wake of that, the CIA launched a Department of Memetics to counteract people like Kekistan, because they didn't like that, memes could just erupt and take over government policy like that.
Little do they know the left can't meme.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you look at that versus, I mean, there's nothing equivalent. So.
And that's why the CIA launched the Department of Memetics, because they were like, hey, who's the most magic of this crowd? Come work for us. And half of them were like, okay.
Yeah.
So what does this have to do with timelines? Was there some lore about like we were in the wrong timeline and this brought us
because
back,
there was also a book about what was it? There was a time traveler named
Baron Trump?
Yes.
Little Baron Trump,
and wasn't it written by a guy named Elon or something like that? Like it was those two were intersecting somehow too.
Ingersoll Lockwood.
Okay. But there was something, there was 2 layers to that story. That there was there was a guy in that book named Elon that was trying to go to Mars.
Well, and Little Baron Trump, wrong one. His dad was like the king or something. Yeah.
That's right.
Travel and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Burglar by Ingersoll Lockwood.
Okay.
And I can't remember all of them, but there were supposed to be other like similarities where it's like, wow, that kind of works.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, was published in the late 1800s, I believe, or early 1900s. Like it is long ahead of anything to do with this.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find any similarities.
In the meantime, something else came up. Jerome Powell has come out and said that the Fed is not allowed to own Bitcoin. So this whole I don't know if this was the same speech because they just cut interest rates again this week, another quarter point.
Yeah, 25 bips.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was. Yeah, it was. I think it was the same speech because they were asking him about stuff like that. He says we're not allowed to own Bitcoin, and that's the kind of thing for Congress to consider. But we're not looking for a law to change. So basically signaling, "Hey, fire me."
Yeah.
Well, but the Fed can't own it. That doesn't change the Treasury or any of the other stuff, and it's probably for the best.
And that's what I'm thinking too. Like, they don't say anything about like the U.S. government. There's how many legal entities are there that could stockpile this stuff? It was just like Obama buying all the ammunition when he was president. As the National Weather Service bought 400,000 rounds of ammunition. Why? National Weather Service.
The price up.
Yeah, why is the post office buying millions of rounds of ammo?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still asking that question. I mean, it was like, I mean, this was
they're going to take out Amazon.
I mean, this was 10 years ago. There you go. Yeah, Jake saying, "I bet they own Bitcoin." Yeah, you bet your ass they do. Absolutely. And for
since when have they cared if they're not allowed to do something?
Well, and I bet Jerome Powell bought some Bitcoin because he knew what his interest rate decision was going to do to the price.
Oh, I'm sure Jerome Powell has plenty of Bitcoin.
Oh, he's got to. I mean, we know Jamie Dimon does. The CEO of Chase Bank. Every time he comes out and calls it rat poison or something like that, Bitcoin will drop 5 or 10 grand, and lo and behold, the next week Chase Bank is the largest institutional buyer of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I mean, Bitcoin, it's lost some steam. Let me see here. I mean, it's
still it's 96.8. So I mean, it's still freaking high. It's
it was 107 earlier this week, though, and it
was up over 108.
Yeah,
but it's ups and downs, right? It's with that, and
but that's how Bitcoin works. It crashes to a basically all-time high, so or a new plateau.
And I'm not convinced that there wasn't the exuberance to hit 100,000. And I saw a really interesting chart that was, it was this kind of rainbow chart that was showing the price thing. And in the previous ones, you saw where the exuberance was because it got up into the higher colors. But on the plot of this rainbow, even these new all-time highs were only sitting at the bottom levels of excitement, which is why you didn't see it. And so the pattern would say, yeah, we haven't hit it because we haven't hit that irrational exuberance about it yet. That blows it up, way, way high for it to then come crashing back down, 60, 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why has it never happened this way? Jake says we're not allowed to go to war, but we go to war in 7 countries.
Exactly. So, while he's saying that, they're tinkering around with ways to inflate the dollar to make Bitcoin look like it's less valuable, which we know has never happened ever. The only way Bitcoin's going to be less valuable is if, all these Chinese immigrants moving over here buying Bitcoin miners are going to, mine all of it way faster than we're prepared for, and all of a sudden flood the market with supply. But even then,
well, the difficulty would keep going up, though.
Yeah, that only would last about 2 weeks at the most.
I mean, we got quantum chips now, y'all. Well, I mean, we're mining Bitcoin from parallel universes. It's not going to take that much longer.
True.
Yeah, according to Guy Swan, I was listening to him today, and I think his take on this was that whatever Google's claiming with that, it still can only do I think maybe 2 digits at a time. It can't do, anywhere near SHA-256 level of bits on it. So
one of you guys said it maybe last episode where it's like if they're able to crack SHA-256 and break Bitcoin, we have much bigger problems on our hand. Because that means that banking and finance and everything is broken, basically.
Yes.
All encryption would be busted. All of it.
Mm.
Almost all of it.
And I remember someone asking, SHA 256, and so it was invented by the NSA, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CIA, NSA, yeah. Absolutely. All the major encryption methods have been rolled out by a military entity of the government.
But it's still a very, very good encryption. You know, it's about the, I don't know if it's still the standard, but it's pretty much the standard on a whole lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
Well,
I mean, talking about the
technically-
Bitcoin miners, I mean, so like BlackRock came out this week. BlackRock, you know, the largest asset holder on the planet, the modern incarnation of the Dutch East India Trading Company, BlackRock, came out and said everyone should have at least 2% of their portfolio as Bitcoin. They've been among the fold. They've been among the Jamie Dimon types up till now, calling it rat poison, saying it's garbage. Warren Buffett was the one that actually said it was rat poison. But you know, those types. And now all of a sudden BlackRock, who tried to roll out their own shitcoin a couple of years ago and failed, now they're even saying, hey, Bitcoin's an asset. And I mean,
rat poison's only bad if you're a rat.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Or
if
a
you're
dog,
municipal
maybe.
water. Yeah,
Or-
Yeah,
I
I think arsenic is bad no matter what you do, but
just when used properly, I mean.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I mean, we know that for sure. But I think from like a national security standpoint, I mean, like that's kind of where my mind's going right now. Of like, okay, so let's say Trump's the real deal on like 20% of what he campaigned on this time, just based on who his cabinet is. That is going to be a tsunami worldwide of American strength that we haven't had in my lifetime. I'm 40 years old, 39, but to have that kind of thing, you know that they're bracing because there's thing. I mean, especially since 9/11, everybody else on the planet has been sinking their hooks in and saying, "Oh, this is the downfall. This is imperialism spreading too far. This is." And I've heard parallels to the Roman Empire. Are we the new Roman Empire? Are we more concerned with the pebble in our shoe than the burning of our own domain? Yeah, I mean, just look, 2020, literally. Oh hey, the other side of the country's on fire, but oh man, they closed down my Kroger. It's not a 24-hour anymore. You know what I mean?
It was frustrating.
Those parallels are there. So it would be if you're seeking to debase the dollar, if you're seeking to disrupt our economic way of life, there is no other lever stronger right now than Bitcoin. Than if you can somehow control a significant supply of Bitcoin and leverage that against the dollar. I mean, like that's the biggest kick in the nuts you can give us right now. And that's why you're seeing these Bitcoin mining operations pop up everywhere power is cheap in the country. I mean, I was just driving this morning, Meriwether County, Georgia, down in Gay. And there was some little company. I mean, there was like 12 little utility trucks, but those ant box is what they were. I remember the ant miners popping up. This was like a Connex trailer that fits on the back of an 18-wheeler. The ant box. There was about 50 of those out there. And they're going somewhere local. And that's just out in the middle of nowhere. Somebody's setting up some Bitcoin mining operations that are pretty serious. And if it was some local guy, like, yeah, I'm gonna use my profits to support the local football team, that would be in the paper. But none of this is getting talked about. It's just, ho hum.
Yeah. And here's that ant box. So it's like almost a shipping container size, maybe 3/4 of that.
It's a 20-foot
mining rig.
Footer.
And I've seen these properties. I mean, they can be anywhere from a half acre to 3 acres plus. Now, of course, the 3 acre setup had 64 of these.
Wow.
And then they usually like them to be near a water source or near somewhere with a high water table, so that way they can pull natural water out of the ground to cool these things, because they are water hungry. They do have that, and you got to be plugged into doesn't have to be the best power grid in the world, but you do have to have a direct line to the power grid, and it's usually somewhere where power is cheap.
Yeah, you've got to, some of the things they do out in West Texas, they'll hook up to the flares and they'll burn the methane, the natural gas out there.
Yeah, that's just
A
smart.
lot of
I mean, that's
a
not
lot
being
of the
used.
yeah, like I know Marty Bent from who does TFTC. His operations, he goes into like TVA territory and looks for small towns that had factories that had shut down, knowing that there's a large electrical interconnect out there. Like you had a substation out there to power a big factory that needed to for steel equipment or something like that. And now that's abandoned. There's no factory. And so you have this power connect out there and you go and you hook up to that because someone needs to be the buyer of last resort. So
Yeah. Another good one. I don't know if it's actually been put into practice, but I remember when we did the talk together, Nick, we talked about nuclear facilities, how they can't ramp up or ramp down their power production. So a lot of times they're just wasting energy. They might as well be using that to mine Bitcoin, power a global financial system, and make money with the power that otherwise would have just been not used.
Well, it's not so much it's not used, but the base load that the nukes provide is lower. So like you're running it down here where then you have to have your natural gas and your peaker plants and whatever else is in the mix to make up for it and be able to provide the instantaneous response. But the nuke's kind of that flat line where no matter what point in the day, if you stuck a pin in it, that amount of power would be produced. That's kind of where they try to target the nukes. So by having a system where you can go and you can pull that excess power, you can pull the amount of nuclear way up and then shut down the miners on it. But also what they're doing there is there's like out in Africa, they're doing microgrids and mining there in places that would normally not have electricity or would have to rely on foreign aid to provide the foreign aid and charities to provide setting up a small dam to provide electricity for a couple of villages. And they're saying, hey, we'll come in here. We'll be your buyer of last resort. When you're not using it, using the electricity, we'll be buying it from you. And when you need it, you shut our miners down. And then when there's extra capacity, you turn our miners back on and we're going to pay you for it. And that's going to provide a stable source of revenue for you.
Nice.
Allowing it cheaper energy. So that's that's projects that's happened that have gone on in a couple places in Africa and eliminates a lot of the foreign aid stuff and kind of shows that, hey, if you can find a market and a product, there's, Bitcoin kind of solves at least like this problem of getting power to villages in rural Africa. So
and now we have more foreign aid to give to Israel. So
that is, yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we got 20 minutes left. You guys have any other topics? Because we're basically up against just like the funny stuff here at the end. But
let's see what else has gone on. The big thing in the news has been this spending bill, but
how about the Postmaster General?
Oh yeah.
He was talking to Congress this week, and they were trying to hold him accountable. Just asking him direct questions. Hey, why aren't you doing this? Why is this happening? Blah, blah. And his reaction was literally, la, 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 la. I can't hear you. Really?
Yep, have it here.
You, sir, do not get an A grade. You cannot give yourself that grade.
I just did.
You can't. You can't grade your own paper, sir. I've been to medical school.
Well, then,
I got my MBA. You can't. I'm sorry. You were graded by the United States people, and they don't use your service anymore. You bankrupt.
That is not true.
You bankrupt this through your reputation only. Through your reputation, you are responsible for the fall of the Postal Service and the lack of accountability.
Congress is responsible for the fall of the Postal Service.
So it's Congress.
I am trying to fix
on your
Postal
watch
Service.
With all the AI.
Before my watch, the same stuff happened.
With all the AI, with all the computer systems, you're worse than if I took a horse and picked up the mail and delivered it 2 miles down the road. That's you. I hope you got that.
Really? Really?
It's the response that the postmaster just gave Congress when he doesn't like what he hears. Literally covered his ears and gave himself the grade of A. And with that, sir, I rest.
There's reasons why Lysander Spooner was kicking their ass back in the 1800s.
Oh my gosh, man! I mean, like that's again one of the two things the government should do if you really, pay attention to our founding documents. Defend us and deliver the mail. That's it. Those are the two things.
That's the funny part, right? Is that that it says Congress should establish it, but it doesn't say Congress can be the only provider of mail. It's just they decided after Lysander Spooner started kicking their ass that they were going to have the monopoly on it, and everyone would have to have the same shitty service.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I was reading something that back in, as recently as like the early 1900s, like the 1920s, you wanted to send the kids off to the grandparents' house for the weekend, you could freaking mail them there.
That happened.
It was reliable. Like you go to the building, you put your kids in a canvas sack, you hand some dude 2 shillings. I mean, we were on the dollar back then. But, you hand a guy a couple of nickels, and you send the grandkids off to the grandparents' house for the summer. And then when they come home, they'd mail them back, and they come home on the train. What?
I mean,
and
you can still do that, just don't get caught.
Yeah, now it's like, my Christmas gifts that I ordered the day after Thanksgiving might show up by Valentine's Day to my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
Amazon,
may be intact.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, like Amazon's kind of fixing that. They've got their own delivery system. I've seen some pretty sketchy folks delivering for Amazon too, like out of their personal vehicles, like husband-wife combos. They get out of the car, like a sedan, a 4-door sedan just full of boxes. And then, they get out of the car and like, hey, thank you. Is this your side gig? What is this? They're like, yeah, it's better than Uber. Like, what? Yeah, they're like, our passengers don't puke in the back seat. Have a good night. Wow. Okay.
So I haven't seen that, but
yeah, I've seen it in the past 2 weeks. I've seen it. So at my father-in-law's house, it was
I've seen it.
Combo. Yeah,
there's been people show up at my house that just street clothes, random car, no markings, and then they leave a package. So there's a Amazon center down the road from me, and I drove by it one day. It's just like full of people's cars just lining up to get these packages.
Yep. I mean, FedEx, screw you, basically. That should be their motto. FedEx, screw you. I mean, because, as far as Georgia goes, I mean, Palmetto was just such a waste. Now it's, I mean, Austell, if you got a package in Austell, I feel bad for you. And now it's, if you got a package in Macon, because, FedEx tried to offload the USPS out of their Macon plant. I don't know what's happening there, but it's also a black hole. If your packages are stuck at any of those 3 locations, you ain't getting them.
Yeah, my dad's going through that right now. He ordered a bed liner for his new truck. Not a bed liner, but a mat that goes on top of the bed liner in the new truck. And it's sitting out. It's been sitting out all week in the facility, I don't know, an hour north of Pittsburgh. And they've called and been like, hey, what the hell? And then they're like, we'll drive out there and pick it up because they're out of town right now. They went out of town and with my sister's out of town. So like, I'm 40 minutes away from their house, and they were like hoping to get it before they left for the weekend, but I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. DHL, spot on. I mean, if DHL says something's going to show up, it shows up. That's my experience. You might have a different one, but all the others, UPS is great. But with inflation where it is, who can afford that? I don't know. That's my take on that. But hey, what's going on with Banish Big Brother, Zach?
Right now we're just in the process of kind of planning for next year, all the things we're going to do. We're trying to, do lobbying and training and education and all sorts of stuff. And then, just weekly we're putting out the podcast and different writings and putting out Mike Meharry's writings and just whatever we can during these, holiday seasons where there's not quite as much going on except, horrible news to talk about. But yeah, so check out banishedbigbrother.com and the podcast if you guys are interested. Because that's more than just a podcast, but it's supposed to be, like we're actually going to push back against these like automated license plate readers and AI facial recognition and all this that's being implemented in people's towns and cities really without their knowledge or permission whatsoever. Like I live in a county, don't even live in a city, and I'm completely surrounded by automated license plate readers. Cannot leave my house to go to the store without that being scanned and them have a pretty good idea of where I'm going. So,
but hey, Douglas County is starting to show up against the data centers.
Oh yeah.
There was a Microsoft one about to come into Lithia Springs, and the town showed up. They actually started to go into the planning commission meetings, and they were pissed off.
Aren't you out that way, Zach?
I live in Lithia Springs, yeah. So
it sounds like you need to be pissed off.
I didn't know anything about this. I mean, I've heard that different things were coming into our town, but I mean, I don't know really why to be against that or not. But
I mean, you already have umpteen data centers there anyways. But there was a new one that was specifically for Microsoft, and I guess someone told the populace it was for AI, and they didn't like that. So they show up, and it's for all the wrong reasons. They show up and say that, oh, well, it's going to be too bright, it's going to be too loud, and it's going to create too much traffic. They're
not loud outside.
And there's like two people that work inside.
If you're outside of Georgia, whatever, and you have a data center come into your town, and you go tell your local government that it's too loud, it's too bright, or it's going to create too much traffic, those are not valid reasons. I'm here to tell you, because once they're fully operational, there's going to be about 15 people on site max at all times. Max. It will not create traffic. The lights pointed down, not a problem. The noise, and that's only if backup power kicks on, which, if the power grid's out in your area, you got bigger problems than someone running a generator. So find other reasons to shut it down. Hey, I don't like how close it is to my river. I don't like how close it is to the stream. Use environmental things, okay? As much as we hate the commies leaning on those things to stop our development and our capitalism, that is the way you unravel these types of things for the environmental impact. I don't want this type of tree. I think this endangered species is out there. I think it's a Civil War battleground.
Yeah.
All of that.
Well, and the fact that electricity prices are going up, but they're just encouraging more and more use of AI, which takes a ton of electricity.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be a conservationist necessarily, but it's like when homeowners are paying way more than usual, but you're inviting in Microsoft to just eat up that electricity. I don't know. It doesn't seem right.
There was a Yahoo story just recently for, the one around the corner here in Fayetteville. And, the local folks were told one number, they were told 700 megawatts when everything was approved by the planning commission, city mayor, everybody, as far as everybody knew, 700 megawatts. That was the power load. And they're like, okay, cool. So they're going to build 3 or 4 extra substations on their property. Everything's hunky dory. Now, all of a sudden, Georgia Power is wanting to run, trying to claim eminent domain through this neighborhood through about 14 different residential lots and run this high voltage power line in so they can get 14 gigawatts. And they're like, that's a little off from the original estimate. What happened? And they're like, oh, well, the 700 megawatts was one building and there's 10 of them.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is AI seems to be in a bit of a bubble. And I think Guy Swan has made some good points on that. Looking at the market for it is there's no market for AI stuff. Like it's coming into everything, but especially with Microsoft, their Copilot, what you're going to have it integrated into your software. How do you monetize it? No, it's not doing anything that provides enough value for businesses to be paying the business license amounts to include it. So what? Then you have to include it for free. And if you're including it for free and then paying all this power to run all these GPUs to run it and all these ASICs that are going to come online to run the AI stuff, how do those economics shake out?
You're catching on, Nick.
So
you're catching on. The world we have today, where you turn on your computer and you log on the internet and do whatever the hell you want to do, and all you do is you pay your internet bill. That's going out the window, bro. I could find an article right now, but I couldn't link it to you in a significant amount of time here. What they want is for you to have, like the size of your phone, but about 4 inches deep. That little box is going to be your computer. It's going to sit on your desk, and you pay a weekly or a monthly fee to run it. And everything's in the cloud. You don't have a terabyte hard drive anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have a dedicated, 8 gig video card. You don't have any of that. You have this little box, little processor, little thing. Everything's managed by the cloud. Windows 11 is the start of that. Microsoft is already trying to run these things out. They've already got these little boxes. You pay, $350 for the box, and then you pay a monthly fee, and Windows 11 is hosted in the cloud. All your backup, all your data, your family photos, all that crap, passwords, everything is on the Microsoft cloud. That's what these data centers are for. So,
that's not new technology either. Like, I have a friend that works in a school system in Georgia, and they upgraded all of their computers at one point to be that way, where there was no real computer sitting there. There was a box that connected to a server, requested like a Windows VM, and then ported it back to them.
Right. That's not surprising, and but that's relatively low power draw versus AI GPUs.
Well, but again, people think their electric cars reduces their footprint.
Yeah. And the point there too is control over
recharge the car.
Control over your data is like you'll have none if for whatever reason your cloud instance of Windows or whatever goes poof. There's all your family photos, there's everything. And I know, we have some of that same risk today with regular computers. Like you could lose everything if you don't back up your hard drive but whatever. But I don't know, it just seems to be like the control is going more from us locally. We might have stuff on a hard drive or on our computer to like, we don't even know where our computer is. It could be in Virginia and Dallas, or it could be in all of those places at once. And that's already how it is with servers. Like, I kind of know where some of my servers are, but at the same time, I can't go down there, be led into a data center and ask to see it because it doesn't work that way. There isn't like a single computer that's running my stuff.
Right.
Right. And I, commercial applications is one thing. I don't know if there's going to be a market for subscription-based computers. They might try to push it, but I think there's going to be a huge pushback in the market because
just like Verizon started, I pay $40 a month. I didn't have $1,200 for the newest Samsung phone. I had $1,200 in my pocket. I mean, I did, but I didn't want to spend it all on a phone at one time. $40 a month. Hey, sign me up. So a computer, you want to do basic things, send an email, look at videos, look at news articles, this, that, and the other. Yeah, I don't have $1,000 plus all the gadgets I would need, plus my internet service, and plus the know-how to service the thing. I'd rather just pay a couple $100 because they focus group this stuff. A couple $100 and then just charge me a flat $35 a month to give me what I need.
Yeah,
something like that.
You guys want to get into the funny stuff here at the end?
Yeah.
We have a Tucker
so,
of the week.
That's the angle I want to take with the Big Brother stuff too. Is with the advent, as technology advances, as AI advances, because keep in mind, Elon warned us about the stuff on Joe Rogan. People that refuse to integrate, your entire industry will be supplanted by AI. We have journalists today asking, is AI relevant? As Google's homepage has done this new thing now where they bring up news articles at the bottom of the Google page, started doing that. Almost every day I get something about like, will AI affect this? Will AI affect that? And I'm like, well, dude, the person that wrote this article doesn't understand AI is writing better articles and then getting more traffic. AI took my order at Popeyes the other day. It's here. You're not going to get away from it. Elon says you're either going to use it or be replaced. So, with the Banished Big Brother project, as technology advances, there's also ways to advance freedom and free market capitalism. And that's the kind of stuff that Zach's on top of, and that's why you need to tune into that.
Yeah. Well, Zane put it really well last episode. We're saying that we're almost guaranteed just by default to get all the bad stuff from AI. like all the surveillance, all the government intrusion and meddling. That's just kind of the arc of how things go these days, is we're going to get all the crappy stuff. But government also wants to regulate all the stuff that actually could be useful to our lives and applications of AI that would be nice to have. So really, Banish Big Brother is to push back on all that bad stuff on a local level, especially because we think that's the best place, is if we can not have it implemented locally. If we can go to our city councilman or whatever and, talk to them person on person and be like, listen, we don't want this in our community. That's, a road to some success. And then also, we have discovered lately, and me and Elizabeth kind of have different views on it, is that like if government's going to regulate anything, it's going to be the stuff we actually kind of want. And we need to push back on that too. Sorry, I interrupted you, Nick, though. So go ahead.
I thought we were moving to the funnies because I just found a really funny tweet.
Yeah, let's go into the funnies.
Funny.
Did you say you have something? Okay.
I just found it here, but this is a community notes strikes gold. Basically, it's the congressman wearing his Israeli uniform and says, "I can't believe an American congressman wore the Russian army uniform to Congress. Russia owns our politicians." The community note says, "Brian Mast wears the service uniform of Israel Defense Forces."
Nice.
I like when you can trick community notes into do it. They did that the other. We were doing that the other. Oh, what was it? I think it was a USS Liberty one a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Where they said Egypt attacked it or something, and then they turned around and said the community note was like, "No, Israel attacked the USS Liberty."
Nice.
So,
all right. Well, we have a few funny things here, but before I get into that, I want to tell you guys to go check out peacefulsea.network. Check out the Dollar Media Club, which I have finally joined. It took me long enough, but I am in it. I'm going to listen to Pants Drunk and all the other stuff on here. And you can check out all the other shows on Peaceful Sea Network, like the Cascade Effect, which is doing big numbers right now. I've heard, like 30,000 plus per episode. People are really interested in this. And, it's a fascinating subject about this unfortunate event that went up in Montana with a cop killing a man, and whether or not it was good, whether or not it was bad, and all the intrigue around that seems to really be, capturing people's attention. So go check out the Cascade Effect. And then, like we talked about, the Banish Big Brother podcast is on there. And there's all sorts of stuff that, Jake has done over the years or is currently doing. Liberty Libations, Free Georgia Podcast, the Wrexham Texan. Yeah. Divide and Dominate. The Junto podcast with Edgar Mills, which I have downloaded and queued up. I need to listen to, but I've been reading his writings. So he's really getting into writing and creating right now. So it's a great time to jump in. More is going to be added over time. And then I have one more thing to show you guys, and I think I might be showing you two for the first time also, is this Peaceful Sea Network 24/7 feed we have going on now on Rumble. So we have a 24/7 feed that's just all of our shows and Binkley's show that are kind of, playing like a TV channel. Let's see if I can. It's only live right now. I can't go back in time and show you guys. But right now it's playing an old episode of Liberty Libations. It plays Banish Big Brother. It plays the Propaganda Report. There's also, another show I do for my company called Cybersecurity for Busy People that plays on there. Free Georgia podcast, just all sorts of stuff, and a few, relevant commercials in between, like commercials for LP Georgia and commercials for Peaceful Sea. So it's been cool. Like, me and Jake set this up, and this stream has gotten like 2,000 people watch it. And that's like, the third or fourth iteration of me accidentally taking the stream offline. So I would say in total, like 8,000 to 10,000 people have watched it in the last, month or so since we've had it up. And, not always a lot at one time. Like, there doesn't seem to be a ton of people watching it right now, but every now and then people tune in and check it out. So I'm excited about that.
Right now.
What's that?
Everyone's watching this right now.
Yeah, that's why
Watching us
nobody's watching the feed, because they're watching the real
real
stuff live. But so anyway, if you ever just want something to watch, something to check out, look up Peaceful Sea Network on Rumble, and there's something 24 hours a day going on there. But all right, so funny stuff. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So this one was from Nick, and as the PA guy, the Pennsylvanian, he knows better than anybody. What did the founding fathers sound like?
Accent that you hear in like the Philadelphia area, colonial people sounded like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin.
Let me sign that John first, bro. Someone hand me a feather. Let me sign that John first. Nah, because King George really a dick eater. Like, old head on some straight up nut shit. Someone give me a feather, bro. I might even put my whole mitt on this John. Just put John Hancock in a picture of my mitt, dickhead. Fucking King George. I know Ben's supposed to sign it first, but Ben on some weird shit right now. He down Kensington trying to fly the fucking kite with a key, talking about some electricity. Old head, the fuck is you talking about? You an old dick eater if you don't let me sign this John first. Come on, let me. John Hancock, dickhead.
That's
So
how
is that a
Philadelphia people actually.
That's
Yes, that's how
Philadelphia.
they actually talk.
All right. Here's another one.
Discovered some bullshit. Duck-billed platypuses.
Why is it not playing the video?
Platypi?
I discovered some bullshit. Duck-billed platypuses are 112 million years old. Ducks are only 25 million years old. Imagine having your own cool, unique nose for 80 million fucking years, and then some dickhead bird with webbed feet shows up, steals it, and everyone's like, that's his nose. You stole it. They should be called platypus.
All right.
There. See, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night too.
Yeah. Here is another one.
Still born on 9/11.
Oh, hold on. You couldn't quite hear her. Let me start it over.
Still born on 9/11.
Anyway, she asks, are kids still born on 9/11? I have a hard time starting the videos in time on Instagram to get the first few words, but are kids still born on 9/11?
And you want to know something that even makes the shit even better? Guess my name. I bet you $100 fucking million you can't guess my name. Isis fucking Snowden.
So this lady's a nurse named Isis Snowden,
Isis
who was born on
Snowden.
9/11.
No.
That's pretty good.
No.
Pretty good.
That's unfortunate.
Wow.
All right, and we'll end with one here straight out of Atlanta. So this is another day in Atlanta.
I'm trying to figure out it was.
I'll take it.
Hold on, it's lagging too. I gotta reload.
I'm trying to figure out
I'll take it.
What happened to y'all screen?
Don't do that. This lady on the in the corner talking about what happened too. Don't do that, man. Y'all on business. They did. They shot it up last night.
They shot it up.
Came over here and kept on shooting, baby. They just kept shooting. I just ducked, went on to the back.
What?
So that's what's going on at Burger King in Atlanta.
I just
couldn't believe
went
it.
on to the back.
Yeah. So somebody
I'm back at
shot
work
up the
tomorrow.
ordering board.
Oh
But,
my god.
I can believe it.
yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, that's it. Any last words, you guys? Anything to put out there? Any plugs?
I don't have anything to plug right now, but go join the Dollar Media Club. That's got some good perks for it. Got some good stuff, and more stuff always coming. So
Yeah, and check out the merch there too.
Oh,
I think he's
sweet
adding
merch.
a lot of stuff. Yeah. What about you, Steven?
Yeah, that's about it. I would say, Peaceful Sea Network. That's where it's at.
Yeah. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll be back, I think, next week if anybody is available on the 26th. I think I'm up for it, but we'll see if everybody else is available. Or it's not looking like it.
I'm a maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Well, maybe me and Nick, maybe Alden. We'll see. We'll put it together. Or maybe Jake will be back. I don't know why I'm just taking over and assuming it'll be me, but who knows?
But if we do have it next week, we'll have trivia.
That's true. I will remember trivia. I completely forgot until like 40 minutes before the show. And then I started to do it. And I'm like, this is not gonna, I can't.
I was expecting all week, like, oh, Zach's gonna remember trivia, and I forgot to like mention, hey, let's make sure we have it because
it shouldn't
Jake's
be
gone,
something you have
Zane's
to remind
gone.
me.
So
cool.
Oh, you're
Jake
not the
is in.
trivia guy. It's Jake and it's Zane and then it's Jake. You're like second backup on this stuff. Third string trivia guy.
Yeah, third string if he remembers.
Yeah, and that's how you want me to make it so I don't win again.
That would be good.
So
all right, everybody. Well, we will see you next time. I guess there probably will be a show next week, so tune in for that. Check out Peaceful Sea Network. That's it. See ya.
Cheers.
Crew